So this is the second installment of my wig series. This is going to be the actual construction of the wig. So if you want to see how I did this, keep watching. Well, first I'm just going to show you everything that I'm going to be using, everything you're going to need to make this wig. So I have my block head. You can also use a styrofoam head, and I just have it on a tripod. A pair of scissors. This is the cap I'm using. I got it from the beauty supply store. You can also buy a dome cap, and they also have the dome cap in a mesh material. So it's just based on preference. I've used this cap before, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on my thing. But if you're trying one for the first time, you probably want to try it on your head first to see if it even fits. Also, I have some needle and thread. I have some metal T-pins, and I'm just showing you an alternate to the stand that I'm using. So you're definitely gonna need a closure. I have a 5x5 lace closure here. You can also use a 4x4 or a frontal. And then I have some hair here. I have about 3 bundles. I'm gonna just cover my head with this plastic bag just so that I don't rip up the fabric when I'm making the wig. It's just like a barrier. And then I'm gonna put my cap on top of that. So I'm just lining it up, and now I'm gonna pin it down on all 4 sides. Next, I'm lining my closure up, and this cap is good because it kind of shows you where to place your closure. So I just line it up, make sure I get it all the way to the edge, and then I start to pin the closure down. You want to make sure that it's flat on top of that cap so that when you sew it down, there's not going to be any like bunching, and everything will just lay really flat. Next, I'm pinning the hair up. I'm just going to get it out my way. So I'm just starting to sew my closure down. I always start with the closure first because I feel like that's just the only way to do it. So I like to hold it down with my free hand and then sew it with my other hand just to make sure it's not moving around as I'm sewing it down. You want to make sure that it's nice and centered and that it's not going to be off by the time you get to the other side. So I sped this up, and I'm just going to show you guys. You don't want to leave too much space in between each thread, because you're going to cut the cap off underneath at the end, so you want to make sure this is nice and tight. So once I'm satisfied with the closure, I'm going to move on to the bundles. So I start around the back, and I don't sew anything onto that little flap at the back right there. I go right above it. So here I'm just mapping out where I'm going to lay my first track, and I'm starting to sew it down. This is all sped up, by the way. I didn't go into detail about like my sewing technique or anything, so if you're not sure about sewing, you might want to watch like a few videos on that first, just because I feel like it would take way too long if I went into detail about that. But I'm just doing a basic like loop stitch, and I go through and knot it every few stitches just so that in case one of them unravels, the whole track doesn't come off basically. So I'm just sewing it, and then I'm going to fold this track over and go back the other way. And those little elastics on the bottom, I don't sew through them because I actually use it to tighten my wig. So I sew onto the fabric on top of it, not through it, because if you sew through the elastic, it's not going to stretch. So here I'm just going back and I'm going to slow it down just a little bit so you guys can see how I fold my tracks over. I don't like to cut my tracks unless I have to. So 9 times out of 10 I fold it over, and I'm just going to slow it down so you can see how I do it. So basically you want to just pull it tight, and then you want to bend the track so that when you go to sew it down, it folds a little easier. And I usually have to sew through it like once or twice to get it to lay down real flat. So I do it as many times as I need to so that it's laying flat, and then I continue to sew it in the opposite direction. So yeah, my preference is always to try and fold your track over, but if you have like a really stubborn one, just cut it because it's not worth having a bulky wig after all that work you do. And yeah, the rest of this sewing is pretty repetitive, so I'm not going to really talk much through it, but if there's something that I feel like I want to say, I will say it. Otherwise, I'll let you guys just watch. And if I'm forgetting anything, I'm so sorry. I'm so tired right now. I'm like trying to finish this. I'm doing laundry, and I need to pack because I'm going to Philly tomorrow. So I'm just fried right now, okay? My bad. So yeah, if there's any questions that you guys have or anything that's not clear or I didn't answer, please let me know. I hate long videos, so I try to make these like straight to the point for you guys. So if there's anything I'm skipping over, please let me know. quickly, the second bundle is doubled, so when you double it, you want to make sure that you pull that thread real tight because you don't want this to be loose. Okay, so just pay extra attention to that and make sure that your needle is going through both wefts at a time. And when I'm doing a doubled bundle, I fold my tracks over one at a time. So I'll do the one on the outside first, and then I'll come back and do the one on the inside, just so that it's not super bulky where I fold it over at. So you'll see. So when you're done sewing on all the hair onto the wig, you want to go ahead and cut that extra fabric off that's underneath the closure. Go ahead and cut those ear tabs off in the front because you don't need those either. I also off camera went ahead and sewed on 3 combs onto the inside, 1 on each side of the closure and 1 in the back. My closure is already laying pretty flat, but if you need to lay yours down, you can always just use water and then use like clips, or you can use like any heat styling tool like a hot comb, a wand, or whatever you have handy. I'm just adding light layers to the wig, so I'm using my razor comb and I'm also using a pair of shears. I pretty much just wanted to cut it even. I wanted to keep it long, but I did want to add a little bit of layer to it so that when I curl it, it has like a little dimension. So that's what I'm doing right now, getting her ready. And then I'm gonna just press it out. So when I get up to the closure, I like to part it in very small sections and go over it with the flat iron piece by piece. Trust me, it makes all the difference, and my closure is gonna be late. Okay? Trust me.
This is a Chucky Beat production.
And this is it. This is my masterpiece. Isn't she beautiful? So I think her name is Keisha. Okay, and I love her, and I hope you guys love her too, and I hope you learned something from this. So if you did, give me a like, a thumbs up, whatever, a subscribe, something, and let me know how I did. Thank you. Bye.
This is a Chucky Beat production.